Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County, and this show is about Plymouth County real estate. Our headline for the month was Inventory and Mortgage Rates Challenge Potential Home Buyers. I'm going to be talking about the August recordings at the Registry of Deeds. We're coming very close to the end of August. So let's go right to the numbers. You're going to see deeds come up on the screen, and there were more deeds in July than there were in June. There were 696 sales of property across the county, compared to 672 in June, down 8% from last year, down 5% year to date. Very significantly, across the 27 communities in Plymouth County, our average sale price has jumped to $696,476. Now, there are a lot of towns that properties cost a lot more money, but that's just an average of our 27 communities. And you'll be seeing a listing of those from Abington down to Whitman. Every single community had sales. Plymouth and Brockton had the highest number, but every community had sales of property within their territories. The next number is mortgages. There were 1,237 mortgages recorded in July, more than the 1,125 in June, 60% more than last July. Year to date, we're still down 3%. And we always track foreclosure issues since the meltdown in 2003. But foreclosures are very, very low. There was a moratorium during the COVID years, and they really haven't caught back up. There are only 11 foreclosure deeds in Plymouth County in July, more than the 6 in June, 38% more than last July. Now, a foreclosure deed is when a lender has taken back property from someone, usually for failure to pay. If you find yourself in trouble, don't hesitate. Reach out to a federal housing counselor. And also very low historically, foreclosure notices. A foreclosure notice is the first document we see at the registry that shows someone's in trouble. Again, if you find yourself for job loss, medical reasons, any reason at all, my best advice is don't wait, reach out for help. You don't have to pay a lawyer, although many people do that, but reach out to a federal housing counselor. There are 35 foreclosure deeds in July, less than the 42 in June. So I'm also going to show you a notice of foreclosures in orders of notice for the 27 communities in Plymouth County. You can see there are still a lot of zeros. For example, Abington, 0 foreclosure deed, 1 order of notice. But you get to the Brocktons, the Plymouth, and the Warehams, usually see higher numbers. But I'm also going to let you know there's a lot of talk about fraud alert. Don't sign up for anything affecting your property without having someone take a good look at it. People are going to try to scam you if you own real estate. A good way to look and see whether there's anything going on with your real estate is go to our website, PlymouthDeeds.org, go to Resources, and go to Fraud Alert. And you can put it in your email, and anytime something gets recorded against your property, you'll get an email. Now, maybe it's something that should get recorded against your property, like paying off a mortgage. But if it's not, run to the registry. If you can't take a look at it online, go to one of our offices. We have satellites in Brockton, in Rockland, in our main office in Plymouth, and they can look it up for you. But don't hesitate in real estate. So we're going to move on to the third segment of the show. I do not have a guest this month. We'll take a 2-minute break and move on to the last segment. Again, welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always talk about our holidays for the month and how they relate to some of our very historic properties, both at the county level and at the colony level. So in the county notable records, you will see an image of the Situate Lighthouse. The Situate Lighthouse was recently renovated, stripped from top to bottom. Everything is replaced. It is a beautiful place to drive through out on Cedar Point, and it leads you out into Situate Harbor. United States government opened a lighthouse there in 1811. It's a very famous lighthouse because the first lighthouse keeper, Simeon Bates, was away, and in the summer of 1814, it was the War of 1812. The Americans had obviously won the American Revolution, established independence, but then the British came along and decided they didn't like American independence. They were taking people off of our ships. They were harassing different ports, and that led to a war again, the War of 1812. So in 1814, there were barges coming into Situate Harbor, launched from a big British ship, a frigate. And the only two people that were there at the lighthouse at the time were Simeon Bates' daughters, Rebecca and Abigail Bates. And of course they were afraid. They didn't want the British coming into the town of Situate and sacking the town. So they decided to pretend like they were troops that were mustering on Cedar Point. They got some of the townspeople together. They made loud marching noises. They got a fife and drum and played it loudly like they were training. And the British troops thought they were coming upon the Situate militia, and they beat it out of the harbor. And that began the legend of the Army of Two. The Situate Lighthouse is now owned by the town and operated by the Situate Historical Society. But that story is still part of our great county, town, and American history. And over the years, on a windy night, there have been reports of a fife and drum mixing in with the sound of the wind and the waves crashing in Situate Harbor. Another one of our Plymouth County records, and I did it for one of our holidays, is If anyone has not gone down to Middleborough, there's a museum down there for Tom Thumb, actually Mr. and Mrs. Tom Thumb. So Tom Thumb was a very famous person within the circus of P.T. Barnum. He was a midget, what people called a midget back then, and he fell in love with another midget, Lavinia Bump, who actually lived in Middleborough. Long story, he fought very bravely for her attention, and they married. And later, P.T. Barnum named him Charles Stratton. He was Charles Stratton, named him General Tom Thumb, and he became one of the most lucrative business ventures, above even the legend Jumbo the Elephant. So if you go to Middleborough Center, you can see the Tom Thumb Museum, and you can see a lot of the clothes that Lavinia wore during the time period in the circus, and there is a Tom Thumb home in town also. Lavinia died, Tom died in 1883 at the Plymouth Street residence in Middleborough, and Lavinia died also in November 1919. And the last Plymouth County story, it was Radio Month. There's a Canadian-born engineer, Reginald Fessenden, that set up a broadcast tower on Brant Rock in Marshfield. He was an engineer. He developed this radio tower, and he had the first transatlantic two-way broadcast all the way to Scotland. And then later in the year, he did a radio broadcast through that tower that reached all the way down into the Caribbean. Played Silent Night on Christmas Eve long ago. It was a 420-foot radio tower known as the Fessenden Tower. The tower is long gone, dismantled in 1917. But if you drive out to Brant Rock in Marshfield, the Brant Rock section of Marshfield, there is a plaque where that tower stood. Certainly a tremendous achievement that is still celebrated by the town of Marshfield. And last but not least, we always tell some of our Plymouth Colony records, particularly since 2020, which was the 400th anniversary of the Plymouth Colony. Unfortunately, it was a time during the COVID crisis, and not a lot of events went off. We were fortunate to do a great video at the time of the Colony Records that has been recognized and is being entered into the Library of Congress. A lot of people participated in that. But in this particular colonial record, we talk about the King Philip War. So for many, many years, when the colonists arrived, they worked very closely with the native people. They worked together. The colonists needed them. Half of the colonists died the first winter. The native people, the Wampanoag tribe in particular, helped them learn how to plant corn and how to survive. They had a treaty of mutual protection. But after a time period when the natives, the Wampanoags, were being pushed out of their land because they didn't value land the same way that the English did. They looked at it only as a place to use and walk around and hunt and fish. But in the English practice was to take control of land, build houses, and take ownership of land. And it developed into a very serious war. The King Philip War had more people killed per population than any war in America since, including the Civil War. If you haven't read the book Mayflower, by Nathaniel Philbrick, it's a great story of that era. I advise you to do so. It's an easy read, even a summer read in the few days left. But in this particular colonial record, it showed what it was like in that time. It was ordered by the court that any time of public danger, which was everywhere because hundreds of people on both sides were being killed in that war, in times of public danger, that everyone go into the meeting house, go into mass or their celebration on a Sunday, bring arms with them, including muskets, charges of powder, and shot. And if you didn't do that, you'd be penalized 2 shillings. And if you didn't do that, have the money for that, you'd be put in the stocks. Very serious repercussions, but they were trying to save people's lives at the time. But it's a story of those times on the streets and walkways that were on every day. I want to thank Lorna Green Baker and Christine Richards for helping me put this show together. Michelle Hebsche helped me with the show today. This is my 167th show. We do one a month. And Michelle hasn't been with us for all those 167, but she's helped us out a lot over the last few years. So thank you very much. We like to share what for most people is their most valuable asset. And we'll see you next month. We'll see you in September. Take care. Happy Labor Day.